With that, let's move to agenda item 6, Board Administrative Rule. We've got Deputy Superintendent Elise Newey. Are you teeing us up here? We've got board members. This was brought to us by 4 board members, and so we're going to have discussion here. But we're going to have Elise cue us up here, and then we'll open it up for any motions or discussion. Okay, go ahead, Elise.
Elise Newey, Deputy Superintendent of Policy. So this rule we are bringing before you with a proposed amendment. There is just one amendment to this rule. This is the requirement that you have in board rule for LEAs to establish a fee schedule. Right now in the current rule, that fee schedule is due by April 1st. And the requirements prior to that due date are that they have to talk about it in a public meeting, and that there are several requirements prior to that April 1st deadline. So given that there is a lot of flux happening right now in the legislative session regarding school fees, the suggestion was brought that we move that due date to, I believe it is June 1st. Did we say June? Did we say July? July 1st, my apologies. To July 1st, giving enough time for LEAs to wait until the legislative session is over, then have their public meetings, and then turn in their fee schedules on July 1st. So that would give them a little bit more of a buffer. So that's the only change we're proposing in this rule today.
Thank you. Member Earl.
I'm just, does the motion need to be put before us?
We do need to put a motion. There's
Okay.
some question by Vice Chair.
No, so
Hart here.
can we put up what the rule would say
Yeah.
instead of, there we go. And
Vice Chair Hart, I'm going to let you work with Member Earl, who had the floor to make a motion.
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I know you guys are speaking the same language,
Yeah.
but work with each other here.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that? Yes. Where's the language at? Why am I not seeing? Oh, there we go.
There. it
Okay,
is.
so the motion before the board is that, I'd like to place the motion that R277-407 be amended to replace April with July. Okay.
So,
Just draft one. Sorry. Okay, just draft one. I probably need to read the name of it. What's the name of the? Yeah, I read that, but what's the name of the school fees? Sorry, R277-407 school fees as a draft one as amended.
okay, we have a motion, and that's been seconded. Member Earl, do you want to speak to that?
I had a couple of districts reach out to me, and I think probably others have too. They just, first of all, asking for the extension of the date, and then second of all going, July, hooray. They were even more excited about that because it wasn't such a crunch at the first of the year when they may not be so sure about what the fees actually are, that it gives them a little bit more flexibility as they get close to the end of the year for next year.
Is this a one-time change or a permanent change in the rule? Right. Deputy Elise, are you going to answer that?
I can.
I guess whoever makes the motion, it'd be maker of the motion, but Elise, will you help us?
So we will need to bring this rule back after the legislative session for several amendments. So we'll have the opportunity to address that in probably 2 months from now.
Thank you. Member Carey.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to address this to staff and ask the same question I did regarding Member Bogus's motion. I just want to make sure that this change is not going to impair or hinder the work that's being done by our LEAs. It's my understanding that it'll probably be more helpful, but I just wanted to confirm that with staff.
Elise.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, it would help our LEAs in their timelines and provide them with more time to do what they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Bogus.
So my question is, why do we have to change this rule as opposed to LEAs asking for a waiver from this rule?
Is that a directed, Member Hart, Vice Chair Hart?
Well,
I'll
I think I
answer.
know the answer. I think
The
there's lots of paperwork involved in that, but this seems to be not the most prudent way to go about it.
So the deadline was much earlier, and there was anybody that followed the deadline would have had to start the process all over again after Friday. And so rather than get a waiver from every single LEA, this is an easier way to get the same accomplished. To be honest with you, I don't see a reason that it was ever March to begin with, or April. You don't even, in many cases, have your teachers hired. So the people that are creating the fee requests are often not the teachers teaching the classes or the activity. When you're doing a fee schedule in February. So quite honestly, I intend to preview of coming attractions. I want this date changed permanently, because what happens is you have to start in February. So you might not even have your music teacher to tell the principal what they're requesting for to be on the fee schedule. And then something gets put on the fee schedule, then a teacher gets hired, and then that teacher is hampered because that may not be how that teacher was going to teach the class. So it was a very inappropriate date in the first place. So I anticipate, I know I at least am going to argue for a later date in the future anyway.
Member Boggess, does that answer your question?
It does. I just would question how that leads, to me, that would lead to a transparency concern when parents go to enroll during that time frame. That's an awful late date for parents to know what kind of fees are coming. July just seems way too late to me.
That's why it was a one-time in the request, because I don't anticipate it to be July. That is too late. However, because you have to do 2 public readings, so if you think about it, the bill will, the session will end Friday. Many districts already had their March meeting by the time things are settled, or they have it that second week. They don't even have things settled out from the bill passing. So your first opportunity is going to be April at the earliest. Then you've got the May board meeting. By saying July 1, you've given them 1 extra month. You've given them the month of June to get it straight, because it's got to be, so 2 board meetings would be the April board meeting, the May board meeting, and then if something was wrong and they had to go back, if they learned something in those 2 board meetings, then they have the opportunity in June to get it absolutely right. In future years, I think what we had was too early, but I do think July is too late. That's why when we did the request, we only did a one-time request, because July is too late. But March is too early.
So, Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, and I see other hands, so let's be brief and we'll get to as many are up.
So, with respect, is there such a thing as a one-time request? Don't we have to, does this automatically change back after a certain date?
I don't believe so, but I was just trying to be transparent with the board that wasn't, that
Okay.
the next action would be to bring it back again.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We've got lights from, in this order, Member Bollinger, Member Reel, Member Davis, and Member Lear. So we'll start with Member Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. And just like Member Earl had mentioned, I have had several schools and districts reach out asking for this adjustment so they can make sure that they're in compliance with HB 344. And as all of our board members, I mean, we've received over 1,000 emails from parents. So I think that this is a win-win where it allows these students to be able to have these classes, allows the districts to still follow this process so parents are well aware of what those fees are going to be. And like Vice Chair Hart mentioned, maybe it is something that when we do bring it back, that June 1st might be a more reasonable, but the timing of the courses to be able to have the actual enrollment happen, if the enrollment's happening in March, that actually gives a better head count of classes and a more accurate estimation of school fees, where sometimes they get overestimated, and that's where I think some of our problem has been. So I think having this extension this year helps with the law change, and in the future having a later date will be beneficial for our students, our parents, and our teachers, while still providing that transparency process. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Real.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak in favor of this amendment. I've had superintendents reach out to me and say what a game changer this will be for them to change the date, because of they're normally having to start in January. Now they can start in March, and it allows for that transparency and a lot more flexibility for our LEAs and our administrators. So I'm in favor of this amendment.
Thank you. Member Davis.
I have an amendment to the amendment. I just, however this is worded, I don't know, but so that we don't have to come back and bring this back again, I would like to add to this amendment that this would stand through July of 2025, and then moving forward will be May 1st. And if I get a second, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Do we have a second? Not seeing any. Let's go back to the original motion of the July 1st date.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
Okay. I would support this for this time, but I had expressed the same concerns that we heard from Member Bogus, because we register in spring for classes next year, and kids have to know what they have to do for their summer jobs, and summer jobs start in the end of May for some and beginning of June for others. So we've got to take that into account. There's a reason the date currently is April 1st, and it's been hard for LEAs, and we may need to push it back a bit, but it shouldn't be pushed back so far that kids lose a month of their work opportunities to earn for what activities they'd like to do in the upcoming school year. I mean, I'm in the middle of this right now, so I'm just like, let's, with my own kids, so let's just be careful of how we shift around.
Yeah, and just for clarification to the board members, this rule will come back as a result of the legislation that is happening. So it's not, I don't think we're going to need to require 4 board members to get together and say, this rule will come back and it will be addressed.
Yeah, can I say one last thing?
Sure, yeah.
We could, as parents, I think, because I was talking about this with Member Earl, look back on previous year's costs and kind of base on that to get an idea too. So maybe we do go up to June 1st, but I would just definitely not go past that, just to get, so people know exactly what they're dealing with financially.
Yeah, I think we all, I think I agree with that. Member Lear.
Thanks. This is neither for or against this specific motion, but as the date is being revisited and then maybe changed, I would urge us to look at this holistically, because if Representative Strong's bill passes, then we'll have 2 pathways, and one will be a pathway that is to take classes to graduate, and there will be, as Member Davis mentioned, students registering in March for the next year. My grandkids are doing that right now, and so some parents will need to choose the free pathway if that's going to be a real thing, and that will make a difference for some families. So I think we can't look at this in isolation of what's convenient for the teachers we're hiring and what's convenient for maybe most of the parents, because we'll have a whole swath of parents who have to or choose to have a schedule that involves free classes. So I think that has to be part of the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Lear. Let's get back to the motion then. And the motion is that the board approves the amendments, which would be changing the April 1st date to July 1st, to R277-407-6, LE requirements to establish a fee schedule, maximum fee amounts, notice to parents, draft 1 on first and final reading. Members, please vote. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Board members, we have moved an agenda item to after lunch, so I'm going to take an after lunch agenda item and move it to before lunch.